What's going on? Is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Want to have a conversation with y'all today about quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is a thing, and you may not have heard of the term, but you probably will soon because it is a thing. And I'm going to break down what thing it is and why it is. But first, I need you to hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. And if you haven't already, make sure that you tap into all of my other channels, which includes Fight Club, the Lapeef Network, Anton Daniels, the whole 9 yards. Those links are in the description, as well as links to the Patreon, where we're doing some phenomenal things. We live streaming Build a Business tomorrow. You need to tap into the Patreon to get the link to that, the Zoom call. We're doing live meetups. I've been flying to every single city that I can possibly think of in order to make sure that I link up with my people. That whole thing, it's a vibe, right? But let me pivot, right? Quiet quitting. Now, quiet quitting, instead of people walking away from the job and saying, I don't want to work here anymore, or I want to get a different job, or new opportunities, or I want to get a promotion, it's the complete opposite of what I teach you inside of the Bag Chasers group, right? Because what happens is people wind up just staying as long as they possibly can, doing the very, very minimum possible, or sometimes even less than that, just so they can continue to collect a paycheck. Now, on the outside looking in, you're going to say, well, you know what, that makes sense because, why not just continue to collect a paycheck until they fire me, or why not just do the minimum possible to continue to collect a paycheck even though I'm not going anywhere? And it's very egregious. It's a very egregious practice because A, it shows more about who you are than it is them. B, a lot of times people are going to justify their actions and they say, well, these corporations and this and that. Most places are small business. Small businesses are the ones that employ the majority of the people, and they're just everyday people trying to make it. C, what are you looking to do? Are you actually looking to level up? Are you looking to become the best version of yourself? And this is not going to result or transition you into any kind of a better position. It's just gonna wind up holding you over until you get fired, and that's what you don't want, right? So many people are operating in this space to where they doing just enough, and this is the reason why I hated the UAW. I absolutely despised working in a union when I worked inside of these plants and the steel mills that I worked at, because it was almost like they spent the majority of their time protecting the trashiest among us, instead of spending their time trying to build up and make sure that we get the best thing that we had possible based off of, how well you worked. Everybody got the same pay, or it was based off of seniority, and it wasn't based off of how much you put into it. And that's one of the reasons why I like capitalism, true capitalism, better, because you eat what you kill and then only the strong survive. But a lot of people are leaning into the society because they are so coddled and everything has been so taken care of for them, or they've been provided for. Your homie got you a job and you're making them look bad and all that other type of stuff. Where's your self-respect? Where's your own personal dignity? Where is, you stepping up and saying, you know what, I don't want to just be a dusty. I don't want to just exist. I don't want to just live. I actually want to thrive. I want to be better. I want to be the best version of myself. You owe it to yourself before we even start talking about your kids, before we ever start talking about opportunities, before we start talking about your girl, before we start talking about your parents. If you're telling me that you went through school, you went to college, you went to high school, you've got all of this education, and the best that you can do is just existing, I'd rather you leave and find another opportunity than to just exist in a space where you're doing the very minimum possible in order to try to survive. It shows more about your character. It shows a lot about your mentality. It shows how you operate. And you are not going to start picking it up at the next opportunity or the next place just because you're working there and now you're feeling more inspired and reinvigorated. No, you might come in initially because they gave you a little bit of a pay bump, or you may have suffered and gotten fired, and so now you're starting to go into a place where you can actually recover and get yourself back together. So now you got a new job or whatever, and you may show yourself to be worthy initially, but eventually you're going to revert back to that same old man. And it's the same thing with dating. Everybody put on their representative. I seen one of the homies on Kendra G's show, not the homie in real life, but one of the people that participate on Fight Club. And I seen him show up on Kendra G, and he had his hair cut, and he had on new clothes and all of this other type of stuff and so on and so forth. And then when he came back on Fight Club the next day, I was like, oh, you back to being Dusty. Because they're still them. Anything that I do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability because that's just naturally within me. There's no job that I'm going to go to that I'm just going to do just enough in order to survive. There's no environment or relationship, and when I say relationship, I'm talking about my network. There's no relationship that I'm not going to nurture. I don't care how important or unimportant you may think it is, right? There's no group of people or any kind of content creation that I'm going to create that's just middle of the road. I'm going to give everything I have into everybody that I interact with. And even when it comes to the bag chasers, I give them my all. I'm dedicating my money, my resources. Tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And if you need to kick it with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com and we're going to get you set up because you should not be operating like this. And so they're going to justify it, this whole movement that's going on. They're justifying it by saying, listen, I was stressed, I was overworked, or, my sanity or whatever, so on and so forth. There are ways in which you can go about making sure that you do your job effectively without being stressed out. But all of that is just excuses. And as usual, running in the Victim Olympics. First of all, you signed up for the job, do your job. Secondly, you are intentionally doing the minimum possible. And third, you're just stealing money. Character is so important. It's not about, and maybe it's just because I've been on both sides. I've been on the side as an employee and an employer. And I understand what it takes in order to be successful. And I'm saying that forget the employer. You're doing yourself a disservice because it's going to translate into your performance. It's going to translate into your life. And everything you do, it's going to be half-baked and halfway done. And you're never going to get any kind of results as a result of it because everything is always going to be minimum possible. You're going to do the minimum possible in your relationship, in your household. You're going to do the minimum possible and pay the minimum that you have to pay. And you're never going to stretch yourself, and nobody is ever going to recognize the opportunities that come along with being associated with you because you are a dusty. And at some point, somebody got to tell you, quiet quitting is trash. Quiet quitting is trash. Again, you are going to probably start hearing about this movement and then, I think it got like a bunch of views on TikTok, and I was checking it out, and people were validating each other. Stay out of these echo chambers with all of these dusties. If you find yourself in a room with a bunch of regular ass people that's talking about regular ass shit and then trying to do the minimum possible and trying to life hack, get the fuck out of that room because you are going to be dusty as fuck as a result of rocking with them. That is not, and I repeat, that is not the move. Again, tap in. Group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in. We doubling up, tripling up our incomes. We running up the check. We reinvesting in our communities. We're doing the work. We're doing the things that actually generate the most revenue because we are absolutely positively awesome. Do not continue to subject yourself to these mindsets and these dusties that's leading you down a path of destruction of regular people, and then you're going to be out here talking about how the system was against you and running in the Victim Olympics as usual. That junk is old. It's tired, man. We too grown for that. If you above the age of 20, you too grown for that. It's time to grow the fuck up. Get you a mentor. Get you somebody that's going to push you. And then stop being dusty, man. Stop oversleeping. Stop putting yourself in the worst positions possible because you don't want to do the work. So grow the fuck up, man. And I love you, and this is why I'm telling you the truth. I'm going to holler at y'all later. I'm out.